Welcome to Scaling Impact, where we decode how entrepreneurs are harnessing the power of the UN Sustainable Development Goals to create remarkable and impactful businesses that drive transformation on a global and local human scale. We explore how sustainability is elevating our human consciousness and catalyzing us to create within constraints. We decipher why now is the biggest entrepreneurial opportunity since the dawn of industrialization and what leaders and entrepreneurs can do to harness the winds of change. I'm Anders Horman-Nielsen, global futurist, EO Sydney Impact Champion and father, and your co-host with Lisa Andrews for Scaling Impact. Welcome to EO Sydney's global podcast, Scaling Impact, and a big, huge, warm welcome to Rebecca Veksler. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the warm welcome. It is very cold today, so
we need it. We need it. Sydney winters and all of that. So, Rebecca Veksler, I think I've come across your products in yoga studios, on the beach, during the pandemic, walking around with soul cups, here, there, and everywhere. I'm a huge advocate and I guess fighter against single-use plastics and what's sometimes known as disposables. So you're the founder of Soul Cups, which produce 100% hand-blown glass, reusable coffee cups and bottles. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about how you found that sort of sweet spot between business and entrepreneurship, but then also sort of conscious capitalism?
That's a great starting question. Yeah. Well, Soul Cups, it's such a beautiful business. Like, there is so much joy and love in what I've been creating for this last decade with this brand that within it lives a sweet spot naturally because I'm doing what I'm passionate about and I'm making an impact on the world around me. So it's just this wonderful environment that I'm making for myself. So it's been a beautiful journey. Yes, there's so many hardships and so many challenges as an entrepreneur, but when you're doing something aligned with your values, it's just so much fun. So I've had the time of my life, really, but in terms of conscious consumerism and capitalism and all that fun stuff, it's a fight. Like, it is an industry where all you do all day is either have to educate people as much as possible or explain simple concepts about sustainability or a recyclable, mindset, and having to basically try and change people's minds on a daily. So you're almost becoming like a psychologist, and it's so fantastic.
So in terms of this business, was there a moment in time when you were walking around, I don't know, Bondi Beach or wherever, and seeing lots of people walking around with single-use coffee cups and all the cafes, contributing to huge environmental landfill issues? Or what was the sort of aha moment for you?
So funnily enough, it had nothing to do with sustainability. When I first started the company, it actually had a lot more to do with health. So I was 21 and I had just been diagnosed with the most intense autoimmune condition, and I was essentially in a wheelchair for 3 months. I was in a lot of chronic pain and was in a walking stick for a couple of years. And Soul Cups started as a passion project while I was in recovery. So I actually came from the fitness industry. I used to own gyms. I was a personal trainer, and my family's background is actually in manufacturing. We had promotional product agency, and I grew up in factories. I knew everything about it. And it was this insane moment where me and my mom actually had developed this idea of like a beautiful homewares. And our original idea was to make this beautiful glassware because we were so in love with hand-blown glass. And we had just been traveling all through China, through all the trade shows and understanding what was trending and what was coming. And we started to design this glass, like just a beautiful drinking glass. And at the same time, being so passionate about the health industry and the fitness industry and what was going on with me and all of my autoimmune stuff, I slowly started to learn about sustainability and plastics and the toxicity of it all. And I fell down this rabbit hole of a new passion and then evolved into this product, into this reusable cup instead of just a glass. We were like, wait a minute. We drink coffee every day. I take a glass from home to the gym every day when I'm working. Why don't we produce something on the go that's like bloody gorgeous and plastic free, because the only thing on the market was this shitty plastic product. And I have a lot of opinions about plastic reusables, and that's a whole other conversation. But that was the light bulb moment. It was this evolution of a very high quality, beautiful product that we wanted to design, and then shifting that into sustainability and reusable goods, and then falling into that rabbit hole of, wow, like all of my worlds are aligning and all of my passions suddenly make sense.
Yeah, cool. So we are talking here about UN Sustainable Development Goal number 12, which is, of course, responsible consumption and production. In terms of the consumption side, I think you and I are both proponents and big advocates and I guess observers about the conscious consumption trend. And I'm curious just to see how that conscious consumption trend has buoyed Soul Cups and maybe how you see it more broadly in society. Are people voting with their dollars and making sure that they're, buying fewer but better things? Or like, how do you see that rise of the conscious consumer contributing to your business model?
It's been a roller coaster. I believe that when we started the brand in 2016, the concept of conscious consumerism didn't exist, especially in Australia. It was non-existent. People did not care under any capacity for sustainability or reusable goods. And of course, then we had War on Waste. I don't know if you recall the ABC series, but it was humongous for the sustainability industry, especially across Australia and the United Kingdom. And it just set in stone this new wave of thinking. It allowed people to literally check themselves, like open their eyes and go, holy cow, I'm doing everything wrong. And thus, with this whole new wave of thinking, became this new wave of sustainable brands. And it was a hell of a ride. I mean, the amount of education that was outpoured into the general society, the amount of advocacy and the amount of incredible brands and businesses that, stood as thought leaders in this industry and actually did make a huge difference and produced phenomenal, durable, sustainable products. And we had this highlighter effect on all the greenwashing and all the shit that was really going on behind the scenes of so many of the bigger companies and corporations. So it's been a phenomenal, 6-7 years of a new way of seeing sustainability. But it's certainly highlighted a lot of the problems that exist. Like, I'm sure you know what's happening with Red Cycle at the moment and how they went into administration. So many sustainable brands are closing because since COVID, there's been a shift again in mindset of going back to the old single-use ways of thinking. So it's a very confusing time, and I think something needs to definitely change and happen right now.
So tell us a little bit more about what we can learn from the Red Cycle debacle for those who may not know.
So the reality is Red Cycle were that organization that had all of those bins in front of the shopping centers and in front of, I think it was Woolworths or Coles, I can't recall, where they encouraged people to come in and drop off their recyclable items and hopefully be doing good. And then unfortunately, the reality was that the company was not able to actually recycle any of the products that were thrown into these bins. So essentially they were just keeping them as storage or, ending up in landfill anyway. And I think I'm actually excited about this. I'm excited that it came to the truth. Like, people were actually able to see the reality because, often I have friends who say to me, oh, but Beck, I recycle, I've got a recycling bin and I'm doing so good. Like, what else can I do? But the reality is that recycling bin is not being recycled in your local council. Like, it's very unlikely that the 7 hours a week that you spend beautifully sorting everything out, that it's actually ending up being recycled because your neighbor may have contaminated that recycling bin with their lack of, care, or there's not enough people working at that facility to actually be able to properly sort through everything and have that end result be recycled. So I think what happened with RedCycle is it opened the eyes again to, the general public that there's some shit going down that needs to be revealed. And, not everything is as wonderful as it seems. And we are needing to vote with our dollar because that is actually going to create a change.
What do you think? Do you see any other systems or structures on the horizon? How do you think businesses can solve for this sort of, systemic issue that is, say soft plastics or even hard plastics? Is that something what's required for a system that's going to be superior to RedCycle to actually emerge, so that we kind of, again, we bring together this idea of responsible consumption and production, because it's got to be part of a loop.
I often talk about this, that if you are a business owner, it is your responsibility to do the right thing. That's primarily the first solution, is if you're producing a product that potentially does not need or require plastics, it is then wholeheartedly your responsibility to go and negotiate, communicate, explore, have curiosity, and go and figure your shit out with your manufacturing team, whether it's offshore or whether it's in Australia, or however it is you're doing it. It's your responsibility as the producer of something into this world to go and do the right thing, to source solutions. Nobody else is going to do it for you. You are the producer. So that's number one. Number two is this other side of the bubble, which is the consumer. So this voting with the dollar that we talk about is so legitimate. If we spend money on a product, we empower that producer to continue doing what they do every day. Simple as that. If you then decide to spend that money elsewhere with another small business, with a local producer, with a product that is a competitor but more sustainable, you are then shifting the demand. You are literally voting with your dollar. You are saying no to this person and yes to the other person. And 100% that impact of that $1 goes the distance, because it just requires that user experience to go, okay, I made a conscious choice. I bought something that was a different brand to what I'm used to. It's more sustainable. It's, packaged better. I'm going to try it. And if I love it, I'm going to tell everyone, right? If you buy a product that you love, the first thing you go do is go tell your partner, you go tell your mom, your sister, your friends, whatever. It's that referral experience. And that is a huge domino effect. So it's the double-sided edge where, as a producer of goods, as a manufacturer, it's your responsibility to go solve the problems that you created and consistently continue to do so. And then as a consumer, it is your responsibility to have your eyeballs open and make a conscious choice or a conscious purchase at the supermarket, online, or however it is you purchase these days. So both have to happen simultaneously.
And so there's a sense here that there's this sort of huge responsibility around producers, manufacturers, that is, in a sense, this sort of product stewardship, thinking about the whole life cycle of, whether it's a Coca-Cola bottle or whether it's a, fashion item or whether it's a car. How are designers and businesses starting to shift? Are they looking at sort of shifting from the linear economy of take, make, and waste to this idea of recycling, repurposing, remanufacturing, upcycling, whatever it happens to be? Where would you recommend, an EO member, EO accelerator, entrepreneur, startup, how do they need to be thinking about being part of that circular economy so that they can design with the whole product or the whole service in mind?
I think the first place to begin is, again, into that consciousness, having the awareness of the actual impact that you have as a manufacturer. Just having that awareness in the beginning is already so powerful, because it allows you then to make these better choices. There are so many phenomenal industrial designers out there right now who are coming out of university who are passionate and inspired in the world of sustainability. So many incredible students and designers that are, also have years of experience, ready to support these manufacturers and producers to create solutions. But it requires you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a, someone passionate about sustainability or not, to just have the awareness to include that in the process. So I love that you talked about this, because I actually do quite a bit of mentoring and business coaching. And a lot of the time it's with product-based businesses, people just starting up in that industry. And the first questions that I take these people through are, in regards to sustainability, what problems are you producing? And in regards to sustainability, what problems are you considering to solve through your business journey? And we go through the whole thing of packaging, usability, customer experience. We talk about end life and what happens, after the person opens the box and takes the product out and loves it, like what happens to that box. And then how do you communicate that to your audience, and how do you market that? Because that's actually part of your story. As an example with Soul Cups, the actual packaging is designed to be reused. So it can become like a planter box, or, a makeup brush holder, or for kids, like storing like nappies or like, clothes or toys, or like whatever it is. And we communicate that to our audience. It's like, why would you keep that a secret? So if you've gone to all this effort and all this work to produce something that is already thoughtful and sustainable and interesting, you also then include that in your business model. So it's just about inserting this new topic that should be a compulsory topic to discuss when actually beginning your business, of how can I make this product durable, sustainable, interesting, and have an end life? And then how do I engage with my customers in that regards? Like, do I tell them they can ship the packaging back and they get a discount? Do I help them in that recycling journey as well? It's a really important two-way street there.
Yeah, and like Zara, ASOS, Samsung are doing some really interesting things with packaging, where, some people have sort of been a little bit poo-pooing of Samsung's efforts, but all their packaging is designed, and they have come with instruction manuals of how to turn your new smart TV packaging into, say, a cat run or a home for a cat. Now, if you don't have a cat, you're stuffed, or you have to give that packaging to a friend. Yeah, they're all making inroads into this, and I mean, just in e-commerce and online, 3 billion trees are felled every year globally to just make, shipping boxes. So, that's a huge impact in terms of how e-commerce and the sort of dirty underbelly of e-commerce is playing into the whole climate change conversation.
I so much love that you talked about the packaging, because, every single e-commerce brand out there is either being pick and packed from a living room because everybody is an entrepreneur and a business owner now, or it's in a 3PL. And again, this comes back to that responsibility of the business owner, where, for example, my 3PL, in 8 years of being in 3PLs, have never spent $1 on packing boxes, ever. Ever, ever, ever. Because what I do is I build a relationship with my warehouse, and I say, all the other brands that you stock, don't throw out their boxes, keep them, reuse them, and ship my stuff out in them. Under no circumstances, do not buy anything new. No bubble wrap. We're going to literally just use cardboard, roll it up, figure out whatever the hell you have to do to like reuse the old stuff, but we're not buying anything new. And it just came from a simple conversation. And again, it's because I instilled a culture within my business to go, what problems am I creating and what problems am I willing to solve through the journey of my business? So I just think it's such a nice little touch point, because it's something everyone can think about in their, any of those business models.
And speaking of business models and brands, are there particular brands, and I'm going to put a caveat on this, you're not allowed to mention Patagonia, but are there particular brands that you, because everyone quotes Patagonia, but are there particular brands that have inspired you or that you really look to for great, circular or sustainable business models who who are just great at, solving a problem, but also providing an amazing product or service at the same time.
So funnily enough, I didn't have a brand, like a big brand that I was looking up to or being inspired by, because I was very much just sticking in my own lane. Like I knew what I was trying to create, and the experiences that I was trying to create, it was never about, I want the customer to like receive this like insanely beautiful, gifted box with like an influencer note or whatever. Like I was never thinking from an e-commerce perspective of the customer experience. What I was thinking about was, am I doing my job as a responsible business owner to empower and inspire my audience? Like our mission at Soul was to be a platform for education, to inspire, to empower those to make conscious consumer decisions. So whatever we did from an e-commerce perspective, like our customers would like literally get this product delivered in like some shanky old box from, another brand and whatever, but it was what's inside that counts. Like they got to the inside and they got this beautiful bottle. They got this in like a gorgeous hemp bag with a cleaning brush, and everything was there to be like reused again and nothing to be thrown out. And what I was looking to, what I was being inspired by was I building a community? Did my, everyone who purchased from us, did they feel like a soulmate? Like, did they feel like part of the family? Did they feel like the quality of the product was there? Because that's all that I cared about. I didn't care about anything else. So I was never like inspired by like one of those big brands, because I actually wanted to be the anti-big brand. I wanted to always feel like that small family business, because I want our customers to know that they can talk to us and they can connect to us and give feedback and share support and share ideas and be shown on the Instagram. So it was actually the opposite. I was like trying to do anything but be one of those big players.
And are there any like more cottage industry brands that you think people can draw inspiration from other than Soul Cups that are doing something amazing that people may not know about yet?
I think one of my favorite humans and brands is Mike, the founder of Zero Co. He is currently living in Byron Bay, living his best life, producing some of the coolest sustainable like homeware products. Like it's like to replace liquid laundry and hand soaps and shampoos and things like that. And it's all that secular economy concept of, like returning the old stuff and getting it refilled and like only ever using that one product. And they're just doing a phenomenal job, just strength to strength in terms of how they're building. And then the other one I'd say would be Pleasant State. Sean, who is a wonderful founder, has just raised just over 1 million in a crowdfunding campaign. And they're just doing an exceptional job as well at building a real authentic, sustainable brand.
Tell me a little bit, I'm familiar with Zero Co, and I think some of our listeners might be as well, because we've spoken about them on this show before, but Pleasant States, tell me a little bit more about that business.
Yeah, they're like a sustainable home sort of cleaning product range where you purchase their like set, and it's this beautiful glass bottles, and then you're just purchasing these like refillable little pods that are popped in to the actual glassware. Yeah, it's just simple solutions to all the packaged stuff you would normally buy at the supermarket.
Talk me through your passion for glass over plastics, because it sounded like you had it's a bugbear or it's a passion topic of yours.
Yes, it is. It's not even about glass. It's about why I hate plastic and why it's so stupid to produce reusable items out of plastic. It does not make sense. So we did a study and it showed that to produce one plastic cup, like reusable coffee cup, I won't name the brand, one of those is the equivalent to 13 single-use takeaway cups, which we all know are also lined with plastic, not recyclable, and very bad for your health. So it's like fast-tracking the problem. One reusable plastic cup is equivalent to 14 takeaway cups. That's like 2 weeks worth of coffee with one cup every day. And it's just mind-boggling that society is somehow thinking that if they buy a reusable product that's plastic, it's still good, like it's still a better choice. And it just bloody isn't, because that thing is going to end up in landfill in 2-3 weeks time, no matter what. It's going to scratch. It's going to get moldy. It's going to crack. It's going to smell terrible. It's going to end up in the bin. And you're literally fast tracking this plastic problem that we have, which is the production of plastic itself. Like every single piece of plastic that gets produced in the world, that's it. We're stuck with it forever. There's no way out. Like that is here. So it's like abundantly clear that the only solution is to just stop plastic production. And there are so many materials and so many textiles and interesting, innovative, incredible inventions out there right now that are a perfect solution instead of plastic. Yet, of course, the bigger their company and the bigger the organization, the harder it is to change, right? That's the reality. The bigger the brand, the harder it is to actually make a change internally. So why would these brands stop producing plastic when it's so affordable and it's so cheap and it's so profitable? And that's where that voting with the dollar comes back. So it's all connected. It's just like the power of education and understanding like context, like actually just like having the context of reality. And then as a consumer, making a better choice to just stop buying this plastic shit.
Are there any particular like climate skeptic, fossil fuel mindsets, myths that you love to debunk that sometimes prevents people from taking action or embracing a more conscious way of producing or consuming?
I don't even bother getting into conversations with people who are arguing in that capacity, because it's a waste of energy, really. If you're making choices that are unsustainable because you don't believe in climate action, or you don't believe in, it's like, it actually doesn't matter if you believe in the climate issues or not. From even just a health perspective, like I always shift the conversation in this light of like, you know what, if you don't care about the environment and you don't care about climate change, you're not my person. I don't need to talk to you, and that's okay. But what about your health? Do you want to live? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to, wake up feeling full of vitality and energy and like lightness? Well, the more plastic you ingest and the more toxins you ingest, the less likely you are to feel that great. And I come from that real personal piece of like, let's make it about you. Like, let's talk about you and your body and your health and what you're consuming every day. And let's support you in that capacity, because you're obviously not going to care from an environmental factor. So, it's about just having a little bit of compassion and understanding that not everybody cares and not everybody is excited to make sustainability their thing. So let's look at all the other factors that can make them make better, more conscious decisions. So
then like devil's advocate here. So Zero Co, I'm a fan, I'm a customer, very loyal customer. Then I'm going, okay, well, their beauty products, their, home care products, their cleaning products all come in, you got your Forever bottle, then you got your, refillable pouches. And I'm like, is that all BPA free? Is that like, I'm asking you to defend Mike's business model here a little bit, but I'm like, given these things are rescued from landfill, pulled out of the oceans, like how do they control for the quality of their plant-based products?
Well, I agree with you. Like I'm on your side. Like if I had a choice, I wouldn't be putting them into plastic. And I wouldn't be consuming those products myself. And again, it's a balance of what Mike is doing with Zero Co is phenomenal from a solutions perspective, because he's utilizing the plastic that we can't get rid of, right? And that's fantastic. And that's amazing that somebody's doing that. But then I'm with you, where I don't want to be using products that are stored and kept in these plastic materials, because I have the same fears as you do. It's a very tough conversation, and I can't defend his business model because there's a lot of issues with it. But then that's the point, is that you can see from his personality, from his mission, and from his values and the expression of that he knows this. Like, he's not stupid. He knows the problem he's creating, even from the solutions he's making, that he's got a lot of work to do and a lot of, forward thinking to consider. But it requires someone like him to have that awareness and that forward thinking, that at least he's doing something, and I support his initiative and I support his, passion in that. And I hope he solves this problem, because I also see that, just like you have.
And as does another 70,000 Aussie families who consume their goods. And I think it's probably, and counting. So glass was your go-to. Sometimes I hear about the limits of glass. Like I know like Schultz milk, organic milks, for example, have tried to get back to that old school sort of milkman, milk person, milkwoman business model, and then go, glass can have some limitations in terms of, even from a hygiene or a food security perspective, in terms of, us drinking and consuming our milk. Is that something that you've come across, or is there skepticism, rightly or wrongly, against glass, and people just go, we have this magic, plastic material and it's so amazing for everything. Let's just keep it out of the environment because it's great in the economy, but, it shouldn't be in the environment. Like, do you come up against those kind of resistances or limited mindsets?
Yeah, totally. I've spent the last decade arguing why glass is better than plastic. It's like my number one conversation, but there are limitations for sure. I mean, we produced glass that was hand blown as well. Like, it was a very high percentage of borosilicate, very high quality, very premium, very beautiful. That's so expensive. I'm crazy. Like, no other brand out there is ever going to produce the quality of glassware that we did, because we were ballsy enough and brave enough to spend our money on the quality. But it's still glass. Like, it will break. If someone drops it from a height, the glass can break, of course. And that's a conversation I've had 50 million times. And I think it's the same thing in any industry now, trying to make better choices. It's a risk. It's like, I know going in that when we produce stock or when we purchase stock, there's 10% of that stock that's going to be broken or faulty or, made redundant, like we can't sell it, it's not usable. And it's the same thing in any industry. There's always a percentage of your product that is going to be faulty that you just like write off. And it's just because I know that, and I have that awareness, and I take that risk, and I consciously decide to move forward, it helps me make other decisions, how I price my goods, how I market my goods, how I educate my customers. So it's just, again, it's having that level of awareness of yourself, of your brand to, deliver to customers. So if you're a product out there, you're considering glass, it's a bloody amazing, amazing material to work with, but it's expensive and it's a risk. And it's a good one if you take it.
What's next on the horizon for Rebecca Veksler? You've had this amazing journey with Soul Cups. I know that you're the learning chair for EO Sydney at the moment. We're all deeply thankful to you for your work there. Like, what's next on the horizon? What's the next adventure for you?
Yeah, it's super exciting time. After almost a decade, we're actually closing the business, which is insane, and I can't even comprehend it. And in the midst of this, I've actually just started a health tech company. So I'm now back in the health industry after almost a decade, which I'm so, so excited for. And it just is that full circle moment of, my whole mission with Soul Cups was to create an impact, like a positive impact on the world around me. And I feel like with this new company I started called 4 Rooms, I can continue that mission, but in a much bigger scale. So we're pretty much on a journey now to infiltrate the health industry and to change and shake things up. And right now we're a premium health concierge. So think biohacking, think functional testing, think naturopathy and all this beautiful holistic health. But in the background, we're actually producing this very, very exciting piece of software that is going to very much infiltrate the industry from the inside out. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff happening.
Very exciting. Very curious. So go and check out 4 Rooms. So you guys, like, you've launched, but you're in the background and it's evolving from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, we've got a clinic as well. So it's all happening.
Cool. I'm sure Google will tell us where we can find more information about you. And then, like, if you were to think, like, given the journey you've been on and you continue to be on, and sounds like an exponential growth curve here of scaling impact. So just imagine for a moment, I mean, if you were waking up one morning in, say, 2043, for the sake of the argument, so 20 years down the track as we record this, and given UN Sustainable Development Goal number 12, responsible consumption and production, and if people really in a wholehearted way sort of embrace that idea, how do you imagine that you'd wake up in 2043, and how's the world a different place?
I mean, it's a very scary question. With what's happening with AI and technology and everything going on, Lord knows where we'll be in 20 years. But I hope that we, in this time, develop a solution to get rid of the amount of waste that the world has produced. I just want to see everyone come together, get all these amazing brains that are, out there in the world, thinking of real, genuine ways that we can actually get rid of the waste that we've produced, because there are so many solutions out there to make different, better choices already, new materials, new exciting innovations, but no one's really solving how to get rid of what we've already done. So in 20 years, 20, 30 years, this is the ideal world I want to see. I want to see coming back to nature, a world, an environment where there's so much more like clean air and greenery and beauty in all that aspect, and just something permanently done to solve the plastic crisis that we're sinking in right now.
Cool. And just finally, what books, podcasts, resources have most changed your life in this space for the better, and would you endorse or recommend to entrepreneurs seeking to not just make a profit, but also make a planetary or a social impact as well?
Funnily, the most impactful books and podcasts I've listened to didn't have anything to do with sustainability. They were just about the concept of empowering yourself to have that conscious awareness and to ask yourself the questions of what is my values, what are my missions, and what do I care about, and then implementing that into your business model and your actual, structures. So listening to people like Simon Sinek and reconnecting with your purpose, listening to podcasts like Stephen Bartlett's Diary of CEO and gaining, immense insights from so many different thought leaders around the world, and just having that introspective conversation with yourself consistently of like, why am I waking up in the morning? What do I care about? And what's my greater purpose in life other than, the profit or this immediate business that you're creating? Because when we do things that are bigger than ourselves, we're so much more fulfilled. We're so much more grateful for the little things, and it's the little things that make life worth living. So if you're contributing to this world in some way as a producer of goods, just have that moment to reflect and have a conscious, internalization of like, what's the impact you want to leave? What are you trying to, leave behind?
Sage words, Rebecca. And thank you for scaling impact and being on the show. And I hope your health tech scales in a beautiful way as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Scaling Impact. Make sure you subscribe to the show in your podcatcher, and we'd be super grateful if you leave us a great review. For more information about Scaling Impact, the Entrepreneurs Organisation, or our work on sustainable innovation, please check out EO Sydney online. We would appreciate if you can take a moment to share the podcast with a friend or a colleague and help build the movement. We hope that what we learn together on Scaling Impact can help us all build a sustainable future for ourselves and our children. See you in the near future.